Welcome to another Career Coaches Makeover. Today I have Evan Sukman. He helps Canadian students land consulting roles. And today we're going to be diving into his business and be able to identify his constraint and some strategies so that he can take his business to the next level. Evan, welcome. How are you?
Beautiful. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Daniel.
No, I'm excited to have this conversation. When I was looking at people who submitted, we had a lot of people submit the form. One of the things that really stood out is you kind of have a really clear niche. Like you have Canadian students landing consulting roles. And whenever I see businesses that have a really good product market fit, those are the ones that get me really excited. So I'll start by asking you, why don't you tell me a little bit and us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up at this niche?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I started my career in consulting. I worked there for a few years. I realized that I wanted something different, wanted to go up the entrepreneurial route, quit my job without much of a backup plan. Might not have done that in hindsight. But it worked out here. And then I discovered coaching after that and knew that that was really where I wanted to be, but didn't know exactly what that would look like. Kind of stumbled around for a little bit, tried to figure out, what I could even do for people. Aligned on career coaching. For a while, I was just kind of doing like general career transitions. And I knew that I had the consulting experience, but I didn't fully make that connection that like helping students do the exact journey that I did was something that would even be good. Had some limited mindsets around, maybe they wouldn't want to pay for it and all that. Um,
Yeah.
but actually, when you compliment me on the niche, I appreciate that. But it was actually somebody from your team. I think her name's Laura. Is it Laura?
Yep.
Who helped
Laura.
me out
Yeah.
with that? Yeah. Yeah, so she I remember chatting with her a handful of months ago, and she said, "Oh, you should probably pick something more specific." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I don't know what to do." And then I ran it by her after we got off that call. She was like, "Yeah, it sounds pretty good." I was like, "You know what? Okay, I'm going to do it." And since I've pivoted, the business has been working better, which has been awesome. But always looking for opportunities to improvement, which
Yeah.
is why I'm here.
I love that, man. First of all, like that you just go ahead and take that coachability and just go execute. That's fantastic. But I want to dive a little deeper for people who are listening. Why niching is so important because especially when you're starting out, the riches are in the niches, and the
Yeah.
only way for you to compete with coaches who've been doing it for a long time is if you actually have something that makes you different and makes you special.
Mm.
And I love the fact that your niche is something you did before, right? The best way to learn and to reach any goal is to learn from someone who's done it. So if you have experience in consulting and you know how amazing and lucrative that field can be or that industry can be, helping others break into understanding it from the inside out makes a lot of sense. And so when people are deciding to either work with Evan yourself or work with another coach that's more broad, if they want to go in consulting, you just become the clear choice. And so
Yeah.
not only that, it makes your program better because you're going to be able to do things within your program that wouldn't have made sense. Like I think one of the things I loved that we did when we were doing international students in the US is having an immigration lawyer come speak to our students, right? Like that wouldn't make sense for you to do. That wouldn't make sense for most coaches to do, but it did for us, and that sets us apart. So, um, awesome. Let's do this. Let's start a little bit deeper, understanding your goals, Evan. Like, what are your short-term, long-term goals? Like, why did you go into entrepreneurship? What are you trying to achieve with this business?
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, There's a couple on my mind. I kind of bucket them into like income and impact. Um,
Yes.
so, I mean, I'll start with impact. Like, I want to feel like the work that I'm doing is possibly benefiting people, um, and I like the extent to which I can do that with coaching. Really, like see the transition happening with one individual and the
Yep.
impact that I'm having on their lives. So, yeah, I mean, more specifically, I want to help a whole bunch of students get their career started in consulting and take them from a position where maybe they didn't know they can do it before to where now they're landed a
Yeah.
full-time role. Um, I mean, to get even more specific, I'd love
Yes.
to like have, a handful of like great success stories by the end of like full-time recruiting by next year, kind of like
Mhm.
September, October of next year sort of deal. People who have landed an internship and then converted it into a full-time offer, kind of for the business, but also just to show that like I'm doing good stuff for myself
Mhm.
and for others. And then on the income front, I mean, I'm not at a 10K per month business yet. That's kind of the first short-term goal that I'd love to be at. But then, I've heard you talk about this before, like that's the hardest hurdle to climb. And then after that, it gets a whole bunch easier. So I don't really have too much expectations around like how easy that next kind of jump would be, but and how difficult it would really be for me to get there. I have some better expectations around the 10K per month goal. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I mean, I'd love to be making like 15K per month or something like that a year from now, something like that.
Okay, so impact, success stories, and then in terms of monetary, so there's when I think about like a career coach's goals, like I think about it breaking it down in 3 buckets. So I'm actually going to give you 3 buckets and
Mhm.
challenge you to think about them in this way. And you did two of them, right? So
Yep.
and I also like don't think that we should be afraid as career coaches to say and put money first, because we need to make a living. If not, you're going to burn out, right? And what I found is that um, I've spoken probably to like over 500, 600 one-on-one calls like this with career coaches in the last 7 years. And
Mhm.
a lot of the coaches that I spoke to 2, 3 years ago, more than half of them are no longer a career coach.
Mhm.
And not because they weren't good career coaches, it's because they burnt themselves out or weren't making enough money. So they go back to corporate America because the money is just guaranteed. And so what I don't want coaches to do, and I don't want you in particular to make this mistake, Evan, is that you don't make uh enough money where you feel truly satisfied and you feel like you're hitting your potential, especially when you're coming from an industry of consulting that's lucrative financially. And so to me, if you're not at
Yeah.
least making the same or more than you were making there, then I think you will eventually feel some sort of way and end up leaving this job, like living this career, right? Like,
100%.
especially as you probably still have friends who are in consulting, and then they
Mhm.
start buying a new car, a new house, and you're over here trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills. You're going to be like, I'm going back, and that is very very normal. And so I don't want that to happen to you. So I want you
Mhm.
to get more specific on that money first, because that's going to allow you to have a bigger impact. Because if you
Yep.
don't have longevity in your business, you won't you cap your impact. So
Yep.
the second thing I want you to ask is yourself is time. Like what type of business are you building? Are you building a lifestyle business or are you building a growth business? So are you looking to say, I just want to take home $250,000 a year and work 20 hours a week and I'd be able like, or do you say like, I'm okay with making $400,000 a year and working $40,000, 40 hours a week, right? And so on. So I think that's also an important factor. And the good thing about career coaching, and if you do this correctly, the impact will just be the result,
Yeah.
right? The impact would be, especially if you're coming in from a good place with a good heart and wanting to help. And so you think about it from a money perspective, a time perspective, and then impact perspective, but also try to attach quantifiable like metrics to there. So you mentioned that, right? So okay, short term, let's get you to 10K, but
Mhm.
uh, offers. Do you have an amount of offers that you want to do, or is there a timeline from the time somebody works with you to the time they get a job, or are you measuring success by the average salary that your clients are getting? So time wise, how long is it taking them to get a job? Uh, Salary wise, what's the average salary that they're getting? Do you see what I'm saying? So like those, and the third one is how many people have you worked on? So if I was going to think about those three things, I would try to come up with 2 to 3 KPIs to track the success of your scorecard. Like that would be your scorecard. That would be your annual report, even though you're your own boss, but you should still do it to yourself.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I like it. Yeah. Those are factors that I hadn't quite thought of. I'm sure they would have maybe come to mind down the road as I
Yeah.
check some of these other boxes, but yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I like it.
So now let's dive a little bit into the money wise. So how far are we? So like what is your, so you've been doing this for about a year now.
Mhm.
Tell me in 2024, how much revenue have you done?
I think we're at 20K.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the last 3 months?
The last 3 months, most of it has come from the last 3 months,
Okay.
which has been great since I pivoted the offer.
Yeah.
And got more specific. So the last 3 months, I think that's been uh, one, two. I think I've signed 5 clients in the last 3 months. My price is about
Okay.
3K. So
Five
15K.
clients. And your offer is 3K, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Walk me through your offer.
Mhm.
What is
So
it? What like if I'm a prospect, what are you selling me? What's the transformation? What am I getting?
yeah. So I'm starting to work with students when they're in undergrad, and I'm
Yep.
working with them all the way up until they get the full time role that they want. in consulting. So that would be, it's mainly third year students who I'm currently talking to. They're my primary target market right now, who are
Yeah.
gunning for internships for next summer, and then
Hmm.
ideally converting those into full-time offers by the end of the summer. Um, so in terms of how I help them do that, I mean, I think I've heard you mention this before. Like a lot of career coaching is pretty much the same, but there's only slight differences depending on the niche. So
Yep.
a lot of it would probably be things that you're familiar with, right? Like the resume and cover letter. Were you going to say something?
No, I was keep going, keep going. This is good. No,
Oh,
we're on the same page. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Resume and cover letter, making sure that those are all good. They're optimized for consulting specifically. The networking piece, making sure they're doing all of that right. And ideally, having those conversations convert into some referrals that just get them some interviews. And then the interview front, and that's a big one because consulting case interviews
yes,
are
that is big.
they're pretty
A
they're
big
pretty
part of it.
difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they take a lot of practice, and the practice has got to be good. You can't just like do it with your mom or your dad or whatever that much. Like you got to have somebody who knows their stuff, holding your hand through it. So yeah, that's what I do. I give them unlimited mock interviews throughout that whole time, just to
is
make sure
that
that
with
they're.
you?
Yep, that's with me. Yep,
Okay.
and then also they got one-on-ones throughout there, and then I'm always putting together some more resources for them. Right now, I've got like some Google Docs, some Loom videos of me kind of walking through the whole step by step.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
And so like I'm paying $3,000, and you're working with me until I get the full time offer.
yeah, you got
Or
it.
is there a guarantee? Is there a timeline? Is there what does that apply here?
There's no guarantee. I guess the guarantee is like I will work with you until you get an offer that you're happy with.
That is a
Um,
guarantee though. So don't sell
okay,
yourself short.
yeah,
Don't sell
fair
yourself
enough.
short.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and for most people in the consulting industry, like all the good offers that people really want are gone by like October of their
Yeah.
fourth year, a couple months in. So for these people that I'm currently working with, that's going to be like a year from now that they
Yeah.
should have their full-time offers.
Yeah. Got it. So you mentioned 5 clients in the last 3 months, correct?
Yep.
Walk me through how are you getting, so now let's reverse engineer this funnel. How many sales calls are you averaging have you had in the last 3 months? Or you can average it on a monthly basis if you think it's easier for us to do some math.
Yeah. Um, I have an itch to pull up my Calendly to see how many I specifically have booked, but it's been about like I think it's been about 70 sales calls in the
Okay.
last 3 months. And
Okay.
then in the last 30 days, I checked this, I think today, I booked 27. Um, so yeah.
Okay. 27. What has, so I'm doing math, right? Like we're over here trying to be consultants.
Mhm.
You're averaging around 23 sales calls a month, right? Roughly 70 divided by 3, right?
Yep.
And the last one you had 27.
Yep.
That's a really good number of sales calls to get. So like you're averaging around 5 a week, right? Five,
Mhm.
6 a
Yep.
week. Walk me through, how are you generating those sales calls?
So it has historically primarily been outbound connection requests, sending connection requests with no note attached to people who fit my ideal client
Yeah.
profile. And then from there, if they accept, I'll send them a message. If they respond to the message, we'll go back and forth a little bit. Usually, those are people who are at least interested in what I do.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them some questions to qualify them a little bit, see if they're actually interested in consulting,
Yeah.
what's kind of stopping them from landing a role, and then offer to hop on a quick 15-minute call with them. And if they accept, we get on a call. And if I qualify them a little bit further there and show them that I know my stuff at least and get them
Yeah.
to meet me. And then from there, if I feel like they could be a good fit, then I pitch them on the sales call and then get them on that sales call. I will say I probably end up pitching like 2/3 of my sales calls. Um, so yeah, what would that be? If I got 24 sales calls a month, I'm pitching 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did the math, and you have a 7% closing rate, right? Right now. And
Yeah.
here's what I like. So let's go into some coaching. But
Yeah.
the problem is, I don't know that it's your sales skills as it is your lead management skills,
Mhm.
because or at least qualifying and making sure they're the right fit. To your point, you're only pitching 66% or 2/3 of them. And
Mm.
so if I'm in your shoes, I would be adding an extra step, because what's happening is that like sales calls are not scalable, right? Because
Mhm.
you're doing all the sales calls. You're a one man show, right? Like this is, you don't have a VA. It's just pretty much you're doing this
I actually
yourself.
did get a VA to do a little bit of the outbound connection requests in the
Perfect,
last
perfect.
week,
Okay,
which is great. But yeah, no,
yeah,
you're right. I
okay,
do all the
excellent.
sales calls. It's all me. Yeah.
So the way I think through, there's 4 lever points, right? Like if I think about leverage point, you can lever by technology, right? So like Calendly, to your point, does save time because you save the back and forth. You can lever by media, right? Like if you put a LinkedIn post out, then 1,000 people see it. It's much better than messaging 1,000 one-on-one. You can lever by labor, which is higher in a VA. So there's a labor lever. And then the fourth one is capital. If you have money, you can buy any of the 3 to solve the solution. Uh,
Yep.
and so when I think about like your bottleneck, it sounds like you are generating enough leads, right? Like, and I guess let me confirm that. How many leads do you think you're getting on a monthly or on a quarterly basis?
How would you define a lead?
For me, and that's a great question. For me, if I add them to the CRM, they're a lead. So
Mhm.
if I'm messaging them because they liked or view my profile, they're a lead. But if
Gotcha.
I'm so anybody that's like ideal client, I've already went to their profile, I vetted them out, I know that they're active on LinkedIn, and I added them to my CRM, they're a lead.
Gotcha. Okay. So in my CRM, I add all the people who I send connection requests to.
Yep.
But that I wouldn't say is probably my lead number. But
Okay, when they
um,
reply.
yes. Okay. So when they reply to my message, that
Yeah.
number is, I think I've got like 350 or 400 of those in the
A
last
month or a quarter. Okay, yeah.
total since I pivoted my offer, which was end of June or something. So I guess that's the last 3.5 months, 350, 400 of those. So call it 100 a month. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the good news, right? So I always look at benchmarks. I think uh, you're going to need around 40 leads for one client. And let me walk you through that funnel, right? Um, Generally, you would send 40 invites to a workshop, which is a lead magnet, I want to talk a little bit more about that because I do think that's what you need to implement. Uh, Out of those 40 people that you send to register, only 20 people actually register. And out of those 20 people that actually register, only 10 people show up. And out of the 10 people that show up, 5 of them schedule a sales call. Out of those 5 people that schedule a sales call, 4 of them show up, which is an 80% show up rate. And out of those 4 that show up, you should be able to close minimum of 1, which is a 25% closing rate, right? So if you reverse engineer this, right, and you're getting 100 leads, right, then you should at least get 2.5 clients at the low end of this benchmark a month,
mhm.
right? And if
Yep.
you do that, that should get you to around $8,000 on
Yep.
average, right? Some months would be more, some months would be 9, some months would be like 6, but it should average around that, right? So if my goal, right, if I'm in your shoes and my goal is like, hey, I want to get to $10,000, you have 2 levers. Well, you have multiple levers you can pull, but if I'm in your shoes, one lever that I would increase is pricing. You're working for them for too long for only $3,000.
Mm.
So I would say it's $3,000 for the first 6 months, and then I put them on a subscription base. Or if they get an internship, they have to pay a payment fee or some sort. But you need to increase the lifetime value of a client.
Yeah.
$3,000 to work with them for that long. I think you are, yeah. You're low hanging fruit there. We can talk more about it if you like. The
Yeah.
second thing that I would then increase, let's say you, all things being even, and you keep price the same. I would figure out how many leads do I need to be able to get to, I would say, 4 clients.
Mhm.
And the reason I say 4 clients is because if you want to do $10,000 a month, your business will have expenses, especially now you have a VA that's an expense, right? And
Mhm.
so you're probably going to want to make sure you're doing 4 to 5 clients to be able to take home anywhere between $10,000 to $8,000. Or you can put Canadian dollars if you wanted to, right? Like,
Yeah.
you understand where I'm coming from here.
Yep.
Um, and so then the first benchmark that I want you to go, if we talk about the theory of constraint, and we'll link a link to that video here. The first thing that we think about the steps is, one, are you qualified enough to be a career coach? And I think without a doubt, I think you are, right? Coming from a point of you being a consultant, I think you're ready. You already made the jump. You're here. Good. Check that level. The second level is, do you have a world-class offer? I would say you're 80% there. Like, could you optimize it better? Could you increase prices? Can we add a better guarantee? Can we sell a better transfer? Like the way we communicate the yes. But if we were to give it, like think about like a stoplight, let's say the offer is yellow, it's enough for you to keep going forward. You're not red is where we have to stop and fix it before we can move forward. So I would
Yep.
say your offer is yellow. The next stage of that is leads. Are you generating enough leads to get to the number of clients you need to get the revenue goal that you want? I would say another yellow. Like you are getting enough leads with the right price point and the right next systems in place, you would do it. In this scenario, I would probably say you're green on leads, especially the fact that now you're ramping up and you hire a VA and you're getting over 100 leads a week. Can you optimize that? Yes, you can, but that's not your constraint. The next level is, are you converting those leads into qualified sales calls? And I think the question is qualify, or the emphasis there is qualified sales calls, because you're getting the sales calls, but you're not getting the right sales calls.
Yep.
And that's just taking too much of your time. So this is where actually I would spend most of my time, is implementing some sort of a lead magnet to really heat up your audience, because the majority is coming from cold outbound. They need to see you. They need to know that you know what you're talking about, and then they also need to know that with your help they can reach their success. So there's three main things you need to overcome, especially in the career coaching space. One is logistics of when is the right time to start. That one's easy for you to overcome in a workshop. You just educate them in the recruiting cycle of a consulting firm. Guys, this is where they always recruit. Your best shot is to get an internship. So once you educate them on why they need to work with you today, because if not, they're going to miss the recruiting cycle. And this is not something that they get another shot at, right? They're only in college for a certain amount of time. You're able to build that level of scarcity, this level of a little bit of fear, highlight the pain points. So you right there overcome the logistics objection, because they don't have a choice but to start now, right? The second objection that you have to overcome is belief objection. And belief is broken down into two things. One, Evan, is believe in you. Do I think you, Evan, can help me? And that's how you overcome it, with social proof, testimonials, guarantees. But and the second belief objection is believe in themselves.
Yeah.
They might not think they're good enough to get into a consulting industry. They might hear all this good things about it, but they also know how hard it is to get into it. So you have to essentially break it down and say, you can do this if you match A, B, and C. Like if you have this, and this, and you know you're going to work 60 hours a week, and you like this, and you'll be good in consulting. And so you have to help them believe in themselves and overcome that imposter syndrome that they can do it. Because a lot of times they're not joining your program, not because you're great. They just think they're not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not doing that right now, because there's nowhere in this conversation that you're doing this. That's why you need to have this lead magnet. And the third is money. And that ultimately won't matter until you're on the sales call, because you're not going to talk about price until you're on the sales call.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, I would suggest you hosting a weekly group coaching, like a weekly masterclass.
Yeah.
And what I would do, I would probably do it around somewhere about like case study interviews, or something around like consulting as a whole. But I would break it down into one area of your business. So like if you know your program had like 5 stages, which again, like we talked about before, most career coaches, there's like 80% overlap. So my program had 5 stages. It was clarity. So like where to apply, visibility is what I would consider your resume and your LinkedIn. Those are like things that help you gain visibility. Networking is 3, interviewing is 4, and then salary negotiation is 5. And what I found to be the workshop that works the best, Evan, is actually interviewing, because interviewing was actually the third step. And so I would say, hey guys, welcome to this workshop, right? Today, I'm going to be talking about interview, which is step 3 of the program that I talk about. Now, it would be impossible for me to cover all 5 steps or even cover everything that we have to do about case interviews, because it's really important when it comes to consulting. And I would just cover a little bit of that, but I would also emphasize, I would talk about the recruiting cycle in that workshop, educate them on that, so you overcome the logistics. And then I would talk about why consulting is such an amazing industry and career. How it builds, like once you have a job in consulting, you'll never have to look for a job ever again because companies will just value it so much. How you're going to set yourself financially and be able to buy your first house and have a down payment to buy a house in the next year. Like you just sell the dream. You could become a partner and you can have this track, or a lot of the, like I would even show maybe examples of how some of the biggest CEOs in Fortune 500 companies have a consulting background. So like if you have aspirations to be a C-level executive, I would just put a bunch of pictures of people that we recognize, but we had no idea they came from consulting. But there's tons of them, as you probably know. So I was saying the picture, but then after I sell the long-term vision, I would also want to show them that they can be too. That these people that made it are not that special. The only thing, the difference is they put in the work.
Yep.
Right. And then from that workshop, I would then use that to say, I would add a level of scarcity, and I would think about it from a point of view that you are like a university. So especially because you're selling to students who just applied to universities, and most of the people who are going to management consultants are already have a competitive mindset. If not, they're not even thinking about going to consulting. So I would say, I would start the workshop by saying, there's 20 of you here. I just want to be really transparent. I do this to try to give value, but I only work with about 1 to maybe 2. If I see a superstar in there, maybe 2 people a week. So I'm very exclusive, but I'm going to do my best to give you everything I got. I also, because I know I won't be able to answer everyone's question, I will also offer a free discovery call that you can submit. First come, first serve. I have limited spots available for people so I can dive into more of your background, your goals, and your aspirations. And if I feel like you're a good fit for the program, and I know that I can confidently get you that consulting job based on your goals, backgrounds, and aspirations, and I have spots available, I'll invite you to be part of the program. I'll accept you in the program. And so now it becomes more of an application. They're used to applying. They're used to trying to do this. It's competitive. And now when you do eventually hit them with the $3,000 price point, you'd be like, this is cheaper than a class in college.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So you're going to anchor pricing to something they're already used to paying for.
Yep.
And the way I would anchor it is saying, like, imagine this as an extra class in college that gives you a result, but it's the insurance policy to make sure that all the other classes that you took pay off, because your university doesn't guarantee you a job.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
I like that framing a lot.
Yeah.
I've thought about that angle a little bit with regard to like, oh, this is just like another course you're taking, right? In terms of the price of
Not
it.
Another course, the most important course.
Yes, but it's going to be the highest impact course that you possibly take.
Yeah.
You're gonna make a difference.
And I would say, like, even say, guys, I want to let you guys know that I am not cheap. So in their head, they're thinking $10,000-$20,000, and then you just bring it back. Like, the good news is, it's only, like, to be honest with you, I would charge $5,000. And then if anything, give a scholarship. It's not a course, it's the most important course, right? And I just want to let you guys know, like, you even said, like, I am not cheap. But if I was really cheap, would you even believe that I can guarantee the results that I'm saying? Like, it just, like, wouldn't make sense, right? Like, and so and then when you do give them a price point, I would then say that they can, like, hey, Evan, I cannot afford it. I'm on a scholarship. Like, like, this is how I'm paying for college. You can either do 2 things. 1, give them a scholarship, a discount, or B, have a pay by performance option, but I do need a $3,000 down payment.
And that would be a discount relative to $5,000.
No, that wouldn't be a discount. That would be a 5% of first year income, which will ultimately make you charge more in the end. But you still want to be able to collect at least $1,500 up front.
Okay. Sorry, to confirm that I got that right. You were saying if they have the money objection and they can't find the funds or whatever, you said give them some sort of discount and give them the $3,000. Are you saying like?
It would be a $3,000. So, like, the way I would do it is I would take I would take every sales call a little different. Like I would understand the particular situations, like how are they paying for college, like because people would say it's a money objection, but 99% of the time, it's really not a money objection. It's a value objection. So you really
Yeah.
have to sell the value. If you truly feel like it's a money objection, then I would either set them up on a payment plan, right? I
Mhm.
would say, hey, it's $1,500 up front and then $200 a month until you get a job.
Yep.
Right. So the faster you get a job, the faster the least you pay, right? Or something like that. And so, or the second thing you could do is they can do $1,500 up front and then 5% of first year income, or some sort of pay by performance model.
Yeah.
The key
Cool.
for you there is that you are breaking even at minimum on the $1,500. Because if not, you won't have cash flow. You'll have cash flow issues in the future. When you start scaling up and have employees and you have to pay employees, it works right now, no matter what, because it's your pay. But like once you start adding employees into the mix, which you will have to as you scale it up, you'll have cash flow issues. So you essentially want to be able to at least cover 50%, like cover the expenses of your employees and stuff like that. So when I did it for international students, I try to make sure the down payment covered my team, and whenever they got the job, that was like the profit that the business generated, or where I make my money.
Yep. Okay, that makes total sense. I like it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good stuff there. I have a few questions.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so the first one is, how do we advertise this webinar? I'll give you what I would expect. I think you're probably going to say is, instead of when I'm connecting with people and they're accepting and we're going back and forth, instead of pitching them on the call, pitch them on the, hey, I'm running the webinar this Thursday or whatever. Can you make it? Do you want to attend? You said you send out 40 invites, 20 register, blah, blah, blah. And you go like that. And then let's say if they don't book a call, you follow up with them afterwards and just check in and see how they liked it and what they're thinking about, and try and book a call that way. But instead of currently I'm funneling people to this 15-minute discovery call, I'm now funneling people to the webinar, and then I'm funneling the webinar to the discovery call. And that's the whole system that I push people through.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes. The webinar becomes a filter, because you'll have, if you're getting 100 leads, you get 50 people to register, 25 people to show up in total, roughly. But what happens, because the webinar is going to be so dialed into your core offer and to your core avatar, if they're not the right fit, which you're currently filtering them out in a 15-minute call, they won't book a call. Mm-hmm. So you're not like, and even if your VA follows them up, like, hey, notice you didn't book a call, and they'll be like, either A, hey, I couldn't find a time. Okay, no problem. Let's figure out a time. They'll like find a time. Or B is like, hey, after looking at the webinar, I just don't think this is right for me because I actually want to go to med school. Okay, you just saved yourself the pitch, right? So it acts as a filter. And then the second thing that acts as a filter is that once you're at the webinar, you share a link with them to schedule a call. There should be some questions in that Calendly similar to the questions that you filled out when you scheduled this call. And those become filters, because then you can train your VA to look at this and say, hey, if they said any of this doesn't align with your offer, the VA should just email that person and say, hey, unfortunately, I just don't think like we don't help that person, or we don't help people who live in Spain, because like you only work in Canada, right? I'm just giving an example. Or Asia, you're going to get a lot of people from Asia wanting help to want to work at Canada, but like that might not be your niche. That's a whole different complexity that I wouldn't suggest you go into. And so then you just filter them out that way. But one of the things I want you to remember is you're not inviting them in public, you're inviting them in private. So you're constantly giving value in public and you're selling in private. And so it's value through your LinkedIn post. Your messaging should be figure out a way to do value. My favorite thing to do is like a LinkedIn review. Just like, hey, Evan, thanks for liking my post. I came across your profile and noted 3 things that you can dramatically change if you want to get a really great consulting job before you graduate. Mm-hmm. Would you like me to share this? ? So you don't just give the feedback. You ask, do you want the feedback? Mm-hmm. So then you probably get like about 75% reply rate there. because like this guy, they'll probably check out your profile first, look that you're legit, and then you're legit like, yeah, we'll love the feedback. And then you have built out like the feedback. You give them the feedback without saying anything. Say, here you go. Here's the feedback. Most of them will reply saying, thank you. I will implement this, some sort of like, thank you. And then you go, well, if you like this, I'm actually hosting a workshop this Thursday. I can invite you absolutely free.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh my God, private workshop. I didn't see this advertised anywhere. Like, and now I feel a little bit special. And they attend to the workshop. If they don't reply to the LinkedIn review, you could be like, hey, Evan, did you get to see my LinkedIn review? And a lot of them will be like, oh my God, I got lost in the chance. I got lost. I didn't see it. Hey, thank you so much. Sorry, I've been busy. I've been studying for finals. Whatever excuse they want to come up with. And it usually restarts the conversation. If they register and they don't show up, you message them again and like, hey, Evan, I noticed that you didn't attend, because now remember, you personally invited every single one of them. They're like, oh, sorry, I got busy, blah, 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 blah. No worries. I'm having another one next Thursday. Do you want to attend? I would try to invite them 3 times. If by the 3rd time they don't, send them a recording of an old one.
Yep. Makes total sense. So what I've currently been doing in terms of like the lead magnet sort of thing was a resume review. But that has it's more been, I haven't been proactively like saying, hey, I offer a free resume review. If you send me yours, like I'll get it to you. I've more so just used it as like a way for people to engage with me if they do come across my profile, or if they accept the connection request and think it's interesting. But those have taken so much time that I'm really considering getting rid of them. Maybe it's my perfectionist nature too, but I'll just pull up their resume and like talk for 15-20 minutes about all the little things that they need to change. And I've noticed that hasn't been converting into calls as much as I've wanted to. So, but that being said, I think that people who are interested in consulting, I would say the LinkedIn profile isn't as big of a deal. It's more like there's other more important parts of the process. Of course, it's good to have a good. What's that?
But do they know that?
Maybe not. And it is a part of the process for sure. Like it's something that I cover in my program and all of that. But I worry that there might not be enough like consulting specific like juice to get out of that squeeze. You know what I mean? Like if I really want to get their attention, I mean, I'm kind of brainstorming here in my mind.
Yeah, of course. This is what we're doing.
But, I put out a lead magnet kind of post last week where I shared a whole bunch of consulting applications that are due in the next couple of months. I feel like that sort of thing could be like another thing that I could do there in terms of that would suss out whether they are interested in consulting. Because I'm like, hey, I put together this big thing. Are you interested in consulting, by the way? I don't know. We just connected. And then if they want it, they say yes. And then I say, oh, great. Okay, awesome. Now that you got that, I can do this for you. What do you think about that kind of idea?
I don't think it would work as much, but I would test all of it. I would A/B test both of them. And the reason why I don't think it would work as much is because at the end of the day, people are selfish creatures. And when you're trying to make me read something that you wrote, you want me to read your stuff. You're making it all about you versus about them, right? Versus the reason why resumes reviews work well, or even a LinkedIn review work well, is because it's their resume, their LinkedIn. And so they know that this is not a copy and paste type of thing. And it's a one-of-one. It feels one-of-one, where if you created this awesome document, you probably spent a lot of time researching it, but they just feel like you're just like spamming them. Right. I'm not opposed with you sharing that in an email sequence after they register for the call, or saying, if you attend the call, if you stay until the end of the call, you get this free report. Like that's like a carrot in the end. But you want to hook them, and I don't think that's a hook. Like I don't think that's gonna hook them. The reason why I like LinkedIn reviews versus resume reviews is for the exact reason that you just said. It's a lot easier to do it. You can do a resume review and spend hours doing it and still not feel like you've done any good enough. Where LinkedIn, it's like because it's LinkedIn's are always going to be there's a banner, there's a headline, there's an about me page, there's your experience section, there's recommendations, there's the school sections, like all that part doesn't change. It's really easy. And also, look what I am saying. I'm not saying, do you want a free LinkedIn review? I am saying, hey, I checked out your profile and noticed 3 things that you can change on your LinkedIn to dramatically increases your chances of getting noticed. So you're just sharing 3 things.
Mhm.
And because of people's resume is not just publicly there, most people don't have it publicly there. You can't say the same thing about their resume because you've never seen it. So now that you've seen it, so like I think it's just like those little wordings of I saw 3 things that you can change.
Yep.
Now allows you to only give 3 things. And by the way, what I did with my team is that I wrote the top 10 biggest mistakes, and I will let my VA pick the top 3 from the profile that they're viewing. So you're not rewriting those 3 things. You're just like, you need to change the banner. Here's why. You need to have a better headline. Here's an example of a good one. You need a better about me page. Here's that. Or you should use bullet points in your experience section like a resume. Here's some examples. And so those things don't really change. And if yeah.
True. Okay. Yeah. No, I hear you on all that. I think I will definitely try it out. One other question that I had for you. You've been
Yep.
mentioning 100 leads a week. I'm getting 100 leads a month in terms of like conversations started. So I think the numbers might look a little bit different there with regard to like maybe that's 25, 30-ish. Maybe it's like 30 now,
Yeah.
30 a week. And therefore, do you think it, and I mean, also just off the bat, I guess it'll take me a little bit of time to put together this first webinar, and then it'll just get easier and easier from there. But would you say I should do it like bi-weekly as a result of the? Yeah.
No, I was saying, yeah, like I heard you. I always, so for me, I always look at the numbers. I rely on the numbers, like a good consultant. Like, let's look at the numbers.
Yeah.
I think if you can have at least 5 to 10, like a minimum of 5 people on the call, it's worth doing on a weekly basis. And so if I reverse engineer those numbers, if I need to have 5 people on the call, then I need 10 people to register. And if I need 10 people to register, I need 20 invites. And so as long as you can send out 20 invites and the numbers still trickle down to what I just said, maybe they're better, but if they're worse, then you need to send more invites. Then that determines if you do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or 2 to 3 times a week. And so don't get bogged down by like 100 leads. Like I have clients that generate 150 leads a week. I have clients that generate 25 leads a week. Like it just obviously depends on, do you have a VA helping you, how big your profile is, like how good your posts are doing. All of those factors play into this equation. And so I just would it's the same numbers, whether you do it on a weekly or monthly or quarterly basis, it should still work the same way.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I like it. Cool. And when you're doing the LinkedIn review, I'm just picturing like my current DM process. Are you like opening up when they've accepted the connection request or when they've come inbound with, hey, I noticed 3 things that you could possibly change with your LinkedIn, or are you kind of just doing? I kind of do like a handshake message, I call it, off the start, just to confirm if they're even somebody who would reply to a DM.
Yeah, confirmation, like, hey, Evan, thanks so much for the friend request. Like, what inspired you to reach out?
Yeah.
Right. I saw a post. I really resonated with the last post you wrote. Like, awesome. Tell me a little bit more. I noticed, and I would go to their profile, or your VA would be taught how to do this, right? And I would see, okay, they graduate next May. And we're like, hey, I noticed you graduate next May. Have you thought about what you're gonna do after college? And I wouldn't say consulting. I wouldn't push them into something because I need to. I'm like, hey, I've been thinking about consulting. They message you for a reason. They lurked, they lurked around. They checked your profile. Like all this is in the background, right? I have aspirations. I've heard consulting's a really good industry. I've been kind of like in and out. I'm like, well, if it helps, I'm doing a workshop on Thursday, and I'll just as soon as I see the opening, workshop. I talk a little bit more about the consulting industry and how some of the best CEOs in the world that come from the consulting. I share a little bit more of my experience. So if you want, I can send you the registration link.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, man. So look, based on all of this, you're constrained. What I'll be focusing on is how do I convert those leads, right? That the middle of the funnel, those leads into more qualified sales calls. Because once you implement the workshop and your closing rate should dramatically go up. If it doesn't go up, then and you're still converting the same number of sales calls, even if your sales calls go down a little bit, that's fine. then what you're ultimately going to be able to get is then you will focus on sales. Right now, I think your constraint is middle of the funnel, and it's warming up those leads, qualifying those leads a little bit more, and then getting them to the sales call. That would be what I would work on from here into the end of the year. I think you're going to dramatically see your numbers of sales go up. And if you can get to a point that for every 100 leads, you're getting 3 to 4 clients, like that's the sweet spot.
Yeah. Sweet. Sorry, 100 leads, 3 to 4 clients.
Yeah. Around 3 to 4 clients, depending on how good you can get on optimizing all this. But
yeah. Are you saying that would be like a great goal to get to, or are you saying that's like a realistic thing for me to expect right now?
I think that's something you can do in the next 3 months.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I think by the end of this year, if you implement a good workshop and you're doing it on a weekly basis, even if it's 5 people, just get good at it, right? Like anything else. You tweak the messaging to warm them up. I would add the LinkedIn review. So I would add LinkedIn review, send them to a webinar, then sales call, and then get good at overcoming objections and increase pricing a little bit. That's going to get you to 10K.
Cool. And I'm currently doing the 2-call close where I've got the 15-minute discovery call and then I've got the 1-hour sales call. I should switch it to 1 and just have the webinar be that like discovery where they're discovering me. Yeah.
They're applying to work with you. You're limited spots. You're a university, right? You only accept the way that you put it. This is not even a lie. Like, by the way, I speak with about 100, right? I like you would say like my acceptance rate is less than 4%. I work with less than 4% of the people I speak with. It's the truth. You have 100 leads and you get 4 clients, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm harder to get than most universities in Canada, right? Like, right? And so like, it's all about how you position in it. But yes, that's how I would do it. I would increase prices. I would have at least a 30-minute call, no 15-minute call. You're gonna have less sales calls, but your closing rate should at least double.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Makes total sense. Cool. All right. I think this is all great. Yeah. Are there any other like areas of the business that you would like want to know about to try and optimize it as much as I can? It makes sense that this is like the lowest hanging fruit right now, but like, are there other things I should put on my kind of radar?
Look, the reality is the theory of constraint, right? And if I can, when I look at this, right, in the theory of constraint, your constraint, you have it's what I was mentioning earlier is you have a world-class offer. I would give it a yellow, right? You have 100+ leads a month. I would give this like a green/yellow, right? You have our 15% of those turning into qualified sales calls. This is where I think the constraint that you need to solve for, right? That is, are you tracking them in a CRM? Sounds like you are. Do you have a really good lead magnet? That's where I think your biggest, like this little box right here, the lead magnet box, is where you need to be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
That's implementing that lead magnet, and then you can implement some email sequences to remind them to attend and follow up on anybody that registered. But those are like little low-hanging fruits that will increase your percentages in the single digits. And then the question is, once you fix this, then you will have a better accurate number if 80% of your calls are qualified. Right now, you're saying 66% of them are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right, because you're only pitching to 2/3 of them. And so that would be your next bottleneck. I actually think this will be solved with the group coaching call thing. And then I have a theory that your closing rate is right now at 7%, but should go to at least 15 to 20% once you implement this. So you implement this, then you get new accurate numbers on the number of show up rate and qualified. So if it goes from 2/3 to 80%, then you're good here. And then from there, are you closing 25% of them? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is like, we can walk through every single one of those points, and there's going to be things on your business that you need to work on, but it will do you no good if you focus on all of them. And so the reality is that you shouldn't focus on all of them. You should only focus on the lead magnet. Like for me, if I'm in your shoes for the next month, focus on the lead magnet. After the lead magnet, I would look at sales, and then from there, if you fix that, then you're at 10K. Then we can think about how to build a scalable product, because that is your next problem. 3K to work with somebody for over a year, that won't last, man. You will be burned out. here's the reality, man. If you don't fix your marketing and sales to over 10K in the next 6 months, you will end up going back to consulting yourself, because you will end up you'll be trickling in so many low, like $3,000 clients. And I would say trickling in because you didn't fix marketing and sales, that you 6 months fast forward, you're going to get to a point where you might have 20 clients and not enough money coming in. And you'll have to go get a job and still deliver the service to those clients, unless you want to refund them all $3,000. And so there's a little bit of pressure, if I'm in your shoes, of trying to solve marketing and sales by the end of this year.
Yeah, totally hear you. Yep. I agree with you. I'm even now that I've got 5 clients, it's not taking me that much time, but I can totally see how that will bottleneck, and that I'm going to then more money that I can then shell out on fulfillment a little bit more to take that off my plate.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna have to build a more scalable product that doesn't rely so much on you. So, yeah, absolutely. But look, at the end of the day, there's a lot more positive things in your business than not. Entrepreneurship, it's a roller coaster. I feel like you have really good product market fit, and that's a really, really hard thing to get. So, like, kudos to you for getting that so early on. Everything that it's like a constraint are all very doable, solvable things that just take a little bit of time to execute. But I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long journey. I've been really glad that I've seen some signs of success in the last few months. It was pretty dim there for a while, but yeah, this is great. I'm sure this is going to take me to the next level. So I'll keep you posted on how all this goes.
Yeah, perfect. And for all of you watching this, if you are a career coach or aspiring career coach and want to join a free community that we have on School for career coaches, there'll be a link below for you to join. Again, my name is Daniel. I'm the founder of Opni. I work with career coaches like Evan and help them grow their businesses. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.